Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. I often get asked if I like free sites over the paid campground sites, and I say all the time. I am currently on the banks of Horseshoe Lake, my favorite place to go in all of the ADK. And there's a number of free sites up here, but I'm telling you people, you need to start frickin' paying attention. Yeah, this is a great site, but people come down here and they decide to make a fire ring, throw a can into it that I'm going to have to pick up later, and then they decide to make another fire over here. I mean, this is a great area. Horseshoe Lake is the area that I like to come to, and I don't know what it is about it, but it just brings me back to center in life. And I mean, just sitting on the banks of this lake is awesome. But people are going to ruin these free sites. So this is my site up here, and I'm all set up for a week of adventures. But another thing that I'm going to point out, this site has a privy across the road. A privy is an outhouse, and it's just in the woods. I mean, the road is right there, and it's just right in the trees over there. But the female species decides that they're going to go here and leave their toilet paper. You're going to ruin these sites for everybody by keep trashing them. It sucks. But this video here is, I recently was asked, of all the DEC campgrounds that I've stayed at in the ADK, which one's my favorite? And that was something I had to think, because I've been to quite a few of them. And I had to think, which one do I like the best? So really, I couldn't pick a favorite. So here is my top 5 DEC campgrounds in the Adirondacks that I prefer to go to. Follow along. So we all know my most favorite free sites are here at Horseshoe Lake, in between Long Lake and Tupper Lake. But my top 5 DEC campgrounds that I like to go to, coming in at number 5 is Rollins Pond. Located in the northwest corner of the Adirondacks, Rollins Pond offers 287 campsites. It's on the eastern shore of Rollins Pond and can accommodate from tents all the way up to 40-foot RVs. What I like about this campground, though, even though it's a large campground, it's kind of a quieter campground. And there's can be activity there, but it seems like the clientele that goes there is more older and more quieter. They have great sites. A lot of the sites do offer privacy on each side from your neighbors. Jax and I enjoy our time there, and we were right on the water, where Jax can go in and jump in the water and have a grand old time, and I could go out and throw the kayak in and go out. Our favorite site there is Site 205, but it's just a great campground, and in my video review, I gave Rollins Pond a 7.1. Coming in at my number 4 campground is Buck Pond. Buck Pond is also up in the northwest corner of the Adirondacks in the little hamlet of Anchayota. Buck Pond offers 116 campsites that are on and off the water and can accommodate campers from 40-foot campers all the way down to tents. Now, Buck Pond has sites on Buck Pond and on Lake Kushakwa. And I know I'm not saying that right. But what I like about this campground is its remoteness. It is back in the woods a little ways. The sites near the water can be closer together, but some sites off the water are offer pretty good privacy. And so my favorite site there to go to is, I think it's Site 108. and it's in the last loop just before you get to the beach area. It offers great privacy from your neighbors, and when I did my video review there, I gave Buck Pond a 6.7. My number 3 campground is 8th Lake, located off of Route 28 in between Inlet and Racket Lake, New York. 8th Lake Campground is kind of unique because it has campsites on 2 different lakes, 8th Lake and 7th Lake, and all the way in between. 8th Lake, unfortunately, when I have been there almost every single time that has rained, which came out as a plus because one of those nights I said, screw it, I'm not making dinner, and that's when I found the tap room in Racket Lake, a decent little hole-in-the-wall bar that offers great food and cold beer. If it didn't rain that day, I probably would have never found them. But the 8th Lake is I really enjoyed my stays at 8th Lake. There's a lot of hiking in the area. There's a lot of paddling in the area. They can accommodate tents all the way up to 40-foot RVs. And when I stayed there, I think it was Site 44 was my favorite site there. And in my campground reviews, I scored 8th Lake with a 6.8. So for my number 2 campground, and it might be a campground I'm a little biased on, it's Limekill Campground in Inlet, New York. Limekill is located in the heart of the Adirondacks, offers 271 sites for tents and RVs up to 30 foot. Some of the sites on Limekill Lake are pretty close together, but what makes this place on my list so great is that it has an upper loop, and whenever I camped up on that upper loop, there's nobody up there. So I always grab a site up there. It's very spacious. There's quite privacy between your neighbors. I just love the place. The other reason I like this place is just down the road from the campground is the entrance into the Moose River Plains. You can go back into the Moose River Plains, and there's just a lot of exploring to do back in there. There's a lot of paddling in the area. There's a lot of hiking in the area. If you go there and you want something to do, the Fulton Chain trifecta is climbing 3 mountains, which are Rocky, Black Bear, and Bald Mountain. My favorite site there is 273, and which is up away. Used to be up and away from people, but I think more and more people are starting to find that that upper loop used to be very few people camp up there, but every year I go there, more and more people are camping up on that upper loop. So Limekill Campground comes in at my number 2 campground, and I gave Limekill in my video review a 7.4. So before we get into my number 1 DEC campground that I like to go to here in the Adirondacks, I have a couple of honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1 is Nick's Lake in Old Forge. It's right in the heart of the Adirondacks. Nick's Lake offers 112 sites and can accommodate tents to 40-foot RVs. Some of the sites there are on the water, but many of them are not. They do have some sites that offer some pretty good privacy there. The sites that I like are number 10 and number 40. They are not on the water, but they're pretty decent sites that offer pretty good privacy. The roads there are all paved through the campground, so if you have your kids, they're going to be out on their bikes and their scooters and just having a grand old time with the beach and everything there. But one of the reasons why this campground did not make my top 5 is because it is a very busy campground all summer long. And sometimes I just like that after a day of paddling or hiking, just come back and just relax by the fire and not have to worry about my neighbor's music blasting and stuff like that. But anyways, in my video review of Nick's Lake, I gave Nick's Lake a 7.2. And my other honorable mention is probably the DEC's largest campground, and that is Fish Creek. Located up in the northwest corner of the Adirondacks, Fish Creek is near Paul Smith's area, and can accommodate 40-foot RVs down to tents. They offer 355 sites, and Jax and I did enjoy our time there. And coincidental, when Jax and I were there, the camper that backed in next to us, I kind of looked over at it and I saw a decal on the back of it, and I'm like, I think I know who that is. And it was a fellow YouTuber, Butch, who is on Canoe Camp Climb YouTube channel. And yeah, we traded some more stories and we had a good time there for the weekend. Just coincidental that two YouTubers from the Adirondacks camped next to each other at Fish Creek. It is a great campground for families to go to. 90% of their sites are on the water. There's a lot of water activities you can do there. There's a lot of hiking, but again, it's a very busy campground. I'm one of those guys that I kind of like more private sites, so they did not make my top 5 list because of that. But in my campground review of the Fish Creek, they did score very respectable 7.6. So now we're down to my number 1 campground that I like going to in the whole Adirondacks, and that's over 6 million acres. This campground I like to go to in the fall. During the summer months, it's a very busy campground with a lot of families. Again, it has its roads, interior roads are all paved, so it's easy to ride bikes. They are right in the middle of the hiking and paddling areas, but it's none other than Meacham Lake. This place is awesome in the fall to go to. I have spent many autumns there on nice 75-degree days down to 14-degree days. And I came out of my camper sometimes and it's been snowing with icicles hanging off the sides of the camper. But Meacham Lake offers about 223 sites, some on the water, and most of those are very hard to get into because people reserve them very early. The sites back in the woods offer great privacy. I like Site 108 that's back in the woods because it kind of shoots back into the woods a ways. It's a great campsite for great privacy on each side. When I do like to be out by the lake is when I'm there during the fall. And I like those sites there are 156, 157, and 161. They fit my camper quite well. They're nice and level. I like it. As a matter of fact, I'm going back there this fall. I just booked it last week. And Meacham Lake is my number 1 DEC campground I like to go to in the Adirondacks. And when I gave it a video score in my campground reviews, it scored a healthy 7.6, which is a very good score. So that are my top 5 DEC campgrounds in the Adirondacks. Is there any that you like that I left off the list? Now, have I visited every single one? I have not. There's DEC campgrounds like Elder Island that I just can't get my camper to. But that is my top 5 DEC campgrounds that I like to go to in the ADK. All right, folks, you watched all the way through. Thanks for that. If you liked the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button down below. Continue to follow the adventure. And remember, folks, tomorrow is no guarantee for any one of us. So disconnect from that Wi-Fi, connect to this out here. You won't be disappointed.